Hello, everyone. I'm Deborah Bringelson, and I am looking forward to spending some time with you today talking about uncovering hidden gold in your business. And I do want to let you know that the upcoming episode is one that you are absolutely not going to want to miss. It's my very favorite success strategy. Actually, it's one that I use over and over and over again with clients, and I have never seen it produce less than a 100% increase in revenue. It's my very favorite strategy. Going to talk about that with you next week. So don't want you to miss that. But today we're going to talk about another favorite profit strategy of mine, and that's owning your market. You know, so many people are playing in their markets, they're participating, they're one of a million or one of several dozen. And I say, you don't want to participate in your market. You don't want to play in your market. You want to own your market. When people think about the product or service that you offer, you want to be top of mind. You want them to think immediately of you. Like, for example, when somebody says soft drink, for most people, the first one that comes to mind is Coca-Cola. When somebody says facial tissue, for most people, the one that comes to mind is Kleenex. So for your product or service, when somebody mentions that service, we want you and your company to be top of mind. So how do you achieve that? People don't buy products and services. They really don't. I mean, everybody's out, talking about the features and benefits of whatever product or service they offer, thinking that that's what's going to convince their potential buyers to buy. And that's really not what does it for them. People aren't looking for products and services. They're looking for solutions. They have a need, they have a pain, and they're hoping that you or your competitor can provide a solution to that pain or that need. So how do you stand out from the crowd? How do you get people to listen to you if you're marketing to them, whether you're speaking to them live or on a webinar or your brochures, your website, all of your marketing? How do you get people to actually pay attention and listen to you? The average person is hit with 3,500 marketing messages every single day. And we have become accustomed to tuning them out because we just can't take it. So we're not paying attention. So how do you rise above all of that noise and get yourself heard? So I want to do a little fun exercise right now. I learned this exercise by a really brilliant man that I admire so much. His name was Chet Holmes. I had an opportunity to work with him very briefly before he passed on, and I learned this little exercise from him. So I want to do it right now. I want you to pretend that I am up on the stage and I have invited you to come on stage with me and make a pitch to your potential buyers. I've got a room filled with thousands of people. You get to come up on stage. Now you can't give a speech. You can't tell them your full value proposition. You just get to walk up on stage and you give them your headline. And do you know right now what you would say to rise above the noise, to get them to pay attention, to get them to listen to you, to get them to want to hear what you have to offer them? Do you know what you would say? Think about it for a moment. Pause the video if you need to. Maybe write down a couple of ideas. So what most people say when I first start working with them or talking to them about this, most people want to tell me about them. They want to say, we are a family-owned business. We treat our customers like family. We've been in business for 120 years. Or they want to start talking about their features and benefits. My widget does this, and my product is shiny, and my product has these features. That's not what people are interested in. People are interested in your solutions. So let's talk about who your potential buyers are. This is, as you can see here on the screen, it's a picture of an iceberg. And I love this metaphor because I think it really, really shows us where our buyers are and where we're not paying attention to them. So let's talk a little bit about that audience that you had a chance to give your headline to. When we survey audiences and we ask them how many are in the market for whatever, a new web designer, a new car, a new washing machine, a new financial planner, whatever it is, about 3% are what we say buying now. They're ready to buy, they're actively looking. Those are people who want what you have and they're ready to hand over their credit card. Another about 7% are, they're open to it. They don't need it right now. They're not actively looking, but they may need it in, say, the next 6 months. So they're open to the idea. The remaining 90% aren't in the market. They're not really open to the idea. They're divided into 3 categories of 30% each. The first 30% is they're not really interested. They're not thinking about it. The second 30%, they think they're not interested. That's probably what we would call a soft no. And the bottom 30% is definitely not interested. That would be a hard no. So if you're like most businesses that I work with, you're making your money at the top 3 to 10% of your potential customer base. That means that your revenue is about 3 to 10% of what it could be. Let that sink in for a minute. Your revenue, think of your gross revenue for last year, whatever it was, whether it was $100,000 or $10 million. What if that was only 10% of what you actually could be making? What if you could add another 90% to that? Wouldn't that be pretty cool? How could you do that? What would you do to make that happen? So what percentage do you think, thinking of your headline that you wrote down a few minutes ago, what percentage do you think would actually stay and listen to what you have to offer based on your headline? Now, before you answer, let me tell you a little bit more about your audience. They have been sitting there all day. They're tired. They're hungry. Their butts are tired. They're ready to go home. They don't want to listen to anyone else. And before you tell me, wait a minute, Deborah, that's not fair. That's not who my audience really is. They're not going to get up, turn their backs on me, and walk out the door while I'm standing there watching them. Let me tell you, that's exactly what your audience is going to do, because they're not in a room with you in most cases. They're sitting at their computer, either at work or at home. They are tired. They may be hungry. They may be crabby. If they're at home, their kids may walk in, or if they're in the office, the boss walks in. They're looking at your website and immediately they're distracted and they're gone. You have 3 seconds to capture their attention, which means you have to capture their attention with your headline first, because otherwise they're not going to look deeper. They're not going to be interested in what you have to say. They're not going to get to knowing about your features and benefits, because if your headline isn't great, if it doesn't provoke them, if it talks about you rather than them, their pain, and solving their pain, they're gone. They're out of there. So how do we do this? Well, I want to give you an example of a client that I worked with. So this client was a home developer. She sold houses. And we decided we were going to market our houses using diabetes, heart disease, and teen drug use as our hooks for getting attention. Now, of course, that makes complete sense, right? Every developer, every realtor is out marketing their homes using diabetes, heart disease, and teen drug use, right? Of course not. Of course they're not. So why did we do that? And why was it so effective that we were able to sell $600 million of homes in just 12 months? So we had done some research about who our target market was, who our ideal clients were. And we discovered that those ideal clients were at a higher risk for stress-related health issues. They were at a higher risk for their children to have teen drug use issues or disciplinary issues because their parents were working so much. They were spending a lot of time in front of the television and off on their own. So we developed our marketing campaign around the pain that our buyers were having. We gave them information on stress-related risks for health issues. We gave them information on how they could solve those stress-related health issues. Now, we're walking down the path of selling homes to these people, and we haven't once mentioned our homes or their features and benefits. And these were beautiful homes. They had, beautiful granite and beautiful lighting and lovely features, but we didn't talk about them. We talked about the pain that our prospects were feeling, and we talked about what are the potential solutions to that pain. Then we started talking about what are the more specific solutions to that pain. Things like, children who spend more time with their parents have a reduced risk of using drugs. I think the reduction was something like 300%. What parent isn't going to want to know that kind of information? They may not be interested in buying a home, but they are interested in understanding how to be healthier, how to live longer, how to give their child a better, more successful, worry-free life. And then we started talking, we get a little bit more specific, and we started talking about people enjoying life more if they had an opportunity to vacation and spend time by the sea and meditate. Our homes actually happened to be by the sea, so we knew that was a benefit. And we started to work it in, but we didn't throw it out as a direct benefit of buying a home because we haven't really talked about that yet. We're just starting that conversation. And then we get to the point of talking about buying homes. Well, what are some of the potential additional pains that a home buyer might have? In this particular market, one of the things that happened was there was a tremendous amount of fraud in the industry. So we did what I call setting the buying criteria. We told potential buyers that we had brought in by sharing, caring about their pain. We started telling them, here's your solution, and when you get to the point of buying that solution, here are some really important pitfalls that you have to understand how to avoid. We became their trusted advisor in the market. So what happened was when people started considering buying a home, we've drawn them in, and they started looking at our competitors, and they were looking at us. There was a lot of similarity in the product, but we were the ones that they could trust to give them advice even when we weren't selling to them. So people started calling us and asking for our advice. Now, what do you think happened when it got to the point of buying? Did they buy from the competitor who focused on features and benefits and only wanted to make the sale? Or did they buy from the people who cared enough about them to help them make a smart decision, make a smart investment? They bought from us. And as I said, this developer went from $0 gross revenue to $600 million in gross revenue in 12 very short months. I've used this strategy over and over and over again. Now, those results are dramatic, but every time I've used this, the results have been spectacular. So how do you start to own your market? Well, one of the first things that I say to people is you have to meet your prospective buyers where they are. Don't meet them where you are. And the first question that you want to ask is, what is keeping them awake at night? When they're laying in bed, staring at the ceiling, and they can't go to sleep because they are so worried, what is it that's keeping them awake? And I'll give you a hint. It is not your product or service. If they need a new website, they're not laying in bed worrying about who's got the best graphics. They're worried about 3 primary categories or a mix of 3 primary categories. Those are money, risk, time, or a combination of all 3. If you can solve those problems, you're going to earn loyal customers. So let's talk about them a little bit and how we identify them and make them work. I want you to start thinking about really immersing yourself in the heart and mind of your potential buyer. So what is keeping your potential buyer awake at night? Let's talk about money. Money is, and the lack of money is so ingrained in our culture. Think about all of the conversations that you either have or overhear throughout the day. Somebody says to you, "Oh, I love your new dress." How often is the response, "Oh, thank you, I got it on sale"? Or people talking about they need to buy something, where can they shop to get it on sale? All the ads on TV are focusing on and talking about price and sales that are happening. What if you set yourself up to be so valuable that you didn't have to negotiate with your prospects on price? Wouldn't that be amazing? So think of all of the ways that money worries, money stresses are affecting your potential clients. 32% of adults say that their lack of money prevents them from living a healthy life. There are people who actually need medical services who aren't going to the doctor because they're worried about the cost. 72% of people say they worry about money on a regular basis, and 22% of them say that it's extreme. So money is a huge risk factor. A lot of people truly are laying in bed at night worried about how they're going to pay the bills or how they're going to pay their employees, or that they don't have enough money to invest in their business, or they really would like to take a vacation, but they can't because they're afraid of spending the money, or they'd like to, take their child on some kind of exploration and they can't do it because there isn't enough money. I want you to start really thinking about what are the stressors your prospects are having. The next one is risk. A lot of people are feeling tremendous stress. A lot of people are feeling tremendous stress because of money. So you can see that money and risk can potentially overlap. And stress causes a lot of illnesses or affects our rates of getting a lot of illnesses like, cancer and heart attacks and stroke. It affects our bodies. So how can your business help reduce stress, for example? Okay, so, if you're a web developer, you're not in the business of reducing stress, or are you? If somebody isn't making enough money, they have a tremendous amount of stress, they're laying in bed at night worried about the stress and the risk that it's having on their body, they're not making the connection to graphics and fonts and colors. But if you can reach them at their pain point, the concern of money and risk, and talk about how you can solve that pain by having a killer website that is going to increase their revenue and all of the things that you can do to make that happen, you bring them in by talking about their pain and you sign them up as buyers by talking about your solutions. Does that make sense? So let's also talk about other risks that people are concerned about. Everybody who has a family obviously wants the very best for their family, for their children. Stress is a huge factor for our children. 43% of kids are stressed every single day, and they're telling us that the primary cause of their stress is that it's trickling down from their parents. If you can make the connection between what you're offering and solving that problem for them, and you have to be creative. It's not always immediately understood by your prospects. You have to walk them down the path. I didn't walk out and say, okay, you've got a high risk for diabetes and heart disease, buy a house. That doesn't make any sense. But we walked them down the path, as I explained a few minutes ago, to get them to the point where they could understand that buying one of our homes actually could reduce their stress, could help their children, could help their marriages, could improve their health. That is what interested them and got them to spend collectively $600 million on homes. So the third big category is time. How many people do you know, maybe even yourself, who feel so overwhelmed because they don't have enough time? They don't have enough time to spend with their family. They don't have enough time to spend with their spouse. A lot of people say they come home at night and they just don't have the energy and the wherewithal to even speak to their spouse because they're so burned out from all of the work that they've done all through the day. And if you look at the second bullet point that I'm showing on my screen, 50% of people are doing a lot less than just talking with their spouses. So this is a huge one. And as I said, money, risk, and time, they can overlap. Not enough time to spend with your spouse, not enough nurturing can add to a risk for divorce. There's a link there. So how can you reach into that? What is your version of diabetes, heart disease, and drug use? So now that I've explained this to you and kind of led you down that path, can you think about what are the things in your business, what are the pain points that your potential buyers might have that you could help to solve for them? I'll give you another example. I was talking with someone recently who helps people write and publish children's books, and their marketing was going out pretty straightforward. How do you write a children's book and how do you get it published? Apparently, there are a lot of people who would really love to write children's books, but they don't take that step. They don't move forward. And in talking with this person, what he told me was that a huge proportion of his market was women. And I said, well, I work in the field with a lot of women, and I have a background with this. And I said, a lot of women are really plagued by self-doubt, far more than men are. They are conditioned to play small because they have a fear of not being successful, not being good enough. They have all of these things that make them live smaller, that reduces their income. They make less money than men do because they're playing smaller. I said, what if you reached out to them on those issues, that pain that they're feeling? And believe me, as I work with women and talk with them about how to play big in their life, I hear this over and over again. I know this is a common theme. So I said, what if you reached out to them in that way and talked to them about, are you playing small in your life? Are you feeling like you're not leaving a legacy, or you're not making the income that you want to make? And start talking to them about how you can help them face that pain, reduce that pain, solve that pain. And what a great empowering thing it would be, as you get to the end of the story, to write a children's book. If you have children, what a gift that would be to have their mother or grandmother say, wow, look, my mom or my grandma published this great book. What a legacy that would be. There would be income related to it. It would be a sense of accomplishment. So publishing a book isn't all about publishing a book. It can be about so much more. So in your business, publishing a book or doing a website or selling homes, what is it that's at the underlying need of your potential client that you maybe haven't even thought of before? So I want you to start thinking about the headline that you came up with and what percentage would have stayed to listen to you. If you're like most of the people I talk to, as I said, it's in the 3 to 10% range. But what if you walked out on stage and you said something like, today I'm going to tell you about the 5 biggest threats to child safety. Anyone who knows about children or works with children or lives with children or has children, grandchildren, they're more likely to want to know about that than they are about what you're selling them. Now, obviously, again, you have to make that connection to whatever it is you're selling, and that particular one may not fit for you. But another possibility, the 3 best and proven strategies for reducing mortgage costs. If you're 18, you may not be ready to buy a home, but anyone in the mid-20s and older, they're either interested in buying a house, they have a mortgage, they may be interested in that far more than shiny objects and features and benefits. Or how about this one? Retirement accounts have dropped more than 35% in the past 5 years. Here are 5 strategies for making sure you don't get wiped out. Okay, that hits us where we are. Anyone who's thinking about retirement, again, an 18-year-old, maybe not so interested, but they may not be your target market. You can hook them in with something they care about and then walk them through the steps of how they get to your product or service. And it's really important to lose the box. I had the great fortune to spend a little time working with Tony Robbins, and I love what he says. He says, we are so confined by boxes in our culture. Think about it. We live in a box. Our houses are oddly shaped boxes. We're constantly looking at boxes. This computer screen that I've got in front of me, it's basically a box. How many people sit at night and stare at a box and watch endless TV? Our lives are all about boxes. And what Tony says is completely lose the box. Get out of the box. Think creatively. And before you try to tell me, Deborah, I'm sorry, but I just can't make a connection between a great hook to somebody's pain and my solution, I will challenge you, because I have never experienced that if you put a little creativity into it. So that's it for today. I want to remind you that next week, profit strategy number 3, I'm just giving you a little teaser. I'm not going to tell you the answer, but it's something really cool to rock your revenue. As I said when we got started, this strategy has never failed to produce, and I've never seen anything less than 100% revenue increase using this strategy. So it's really something that you are not going to want to miss. If you want to learn more about uncovering your strategic profits, go to yourstrategicprofits.com. If you have specific questions that you'd like to chat with me about, send me an email, Deberah at DeberahBringelson.com, and I'm looking forward to chatting again in the future. Have an awesome and profitable day.